What is good, everybody? AHS Rules back again with another video. We're going to fix the camera real quick. What's going on, everybody? AHS Rules back again with another video. We're here for another episode of Shooting the Breeze, episode number 46 to be exact. A lot to go through in this edition of Shooting the Breezes. Not only will we be providing our Week 8 NFL predictions, but we'll be talking some NBA action because the NBA is back. The start of the 2024-2025 NBA season. Before we dwell into all that, some cheap plugs. Made my NBA awards predictions earlier this week. We've had a lot of NBA coverage on the channel the past couple of weeks. The latest being the NBA awards predictions, so check that out. No wrestling notes on this week's edition of the Shooting the Breeze. But check out this week's ROH TV review. I've not filmed it yet, but I know it will be extremely important due to what happened on this week's AEW Dynamite. I got a lot to get off my chest. I will be ranting during that video. I'm just saying it now. If you want to see Angry AHS, there's a great chance that you will see it in that ROH TV review. So there's a cheap plug that. And WCW My GM mode. I believe we're on episode 13. I always lose track of the episode numbers there. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but another episode of our WCW My GM mode has already been filmed. Will be uploaded on Saturday. So let's get to Shooting the Breeze. Week 8 NFL predictions. Another important note that I almost forgot. It might not be that important to y'all, but it is something important to me. We're in the start of a new notebook. I don't know why I have to show it, but we closed out the last notebook with the NBA award predictions as well as NFL Week 8. No, we're Week 8 now. Week 7 predictions, in which I went 13 of 15. I was very impressed with that. Now, can I go 16 for 16? Because there's no buys this week for any teams. We got several trade reports and rumors. A trade actually happened. Granted, last week we had 2 trades. And we have a lot of injuries, too, that will potentially ruin some of these predictions. I normally try to, ignore the injuries and not try to have it affect my predictions because I film these on Thursdays, and a lot of the times the games are Sundays, so days and things can change, so we'll see when we get to it. But the first matchup has a whole bunch of it that involved, as the first matchup is the Minnesota Vikings at the Los Angeles Rams. Potentially Cooper Kupp's last game as a Ram because he's a top trade rumor, and there's potential that he plays in this matchup. I think that he is playing in this matchup. I think I'm going to go with the Rams to win this matchup. I have no real reason outside of I'd rather see them win than the Vikings, and maybe their offense will be a lot better with some receiver help. So we'll see. Next matchup, Baltimore Ravens at the Cleveland Browns. The Ravens have been on a hot streak, and I anticipate them continuing that. Now, what's weird is I do think that Lamar's probably the MVP favorite right now because he was MVP last season, and he's playing a lot better than he did last season. Derrick Henry, I also think, is a good top candidate for Offensive Player of the Year. But backtracking, it's so weird that they lost to the Raiders. I think they would be looked at as the heavy favorite in the AFC. Even if they lost week 1 by a toe and there's potential of overtime, if they hadn't lost to the Raiders, I think it changes a lot of things. Granted, they've had a tough schedule since then, and like I said, they have continued to win. I predicted them to win this as well. I don't think I'm picking against the Ravens this regular season, so that continues. Next, Tennessee Titans at the Detroit Lions. As much as I'd like to see the Titans win this, the Lions are kind of in that same boat as the Ravens. So I'm going to go with the Lions. Indianapolis Colts at Houston Texans, which I believe was the Week 1 matchup, obviously with locations changed. The Colts just can't put up a consistent and trustworthy offense. The Texans can. Granted, last week was kind of a bit different, but I'm going to go with the Texans to win this matchup. Next, my Green Bay Packers against the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Jacksonville Jaguars. As always, we're going with the Pack. This next matchup should be extremely interesting if all parties are there. Arizona Cardinals at the Miami Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa is supposed to return. Will he return? Time will tell, but he's supposed to. I think that these two teams are somewhat similar, where they should be exciting, fast-paced, but there's also times where they're not that, and so they somewhat disappoint. But I think that Miami at least has a higher expectation because they got a lot more money involved in that and a lot more time together, where Arizona, they still are adding pieces like the rookie Marvin Harrison Jr. This is a difficult game to predict because I also think that if Tua does return, it's not going to be like back to the old Miami very quickly. I do think it will take some time to get back into a groove. So for the sake of that, I'm going to go with the Cardinals to win, but I wouldn't be shocked if Miami won as well. Next, the most important game. I was about to lie. Must win for the New York Jets. I know that must win might be an over-exaggeration, but they have had way too much talk, way too much action, way too much media attention, way too much drama going on to not win against the New England Patriots, they've only got one win this season, and I'm pretty sure it happened week 1, and there's probably shouldn't have won that, but they did. They need to win this matchup, the New York Jets. I'm going with the Jets. If they don't win, their season's done. The belief of them winning or doing anything magnificent is out the window. They could have a miraculous comeback, but I don't think anybody would buy it. It's put up or shut up time for the Jets. So that's why I'm going with them to win. Next, the Atlanta Falcons at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's very random that this matchup is back this close together because we just saw that exciting Thursday night matchup. I believe last week was, Broncos Saints. The week before that was Seahawks 49ers. I think the Falcons Buccaneers was the week before that. Now, obviously, what sucks about this is that Tampa's down their top 2 wide receivers, and hopefully that they get well soon. And Atlanta was able to pick up that victory. I think I'm going to go with Atlanta this time around. I think I picked Tampa in that first matchup, but I'm going with Atlanta this time around. Next, Philadelphia Eagles at the Cincinnati Bengals. This is my coin flip game of the week. I said that I'm going to start limiting myself to saying that phrase once a week in NFL predictions, and I think that this matchup is that, because these two teams have not been as consistent or exciting or at the same level that they've been at the past couple of seasons, but they're slowly but surely getting in that way. I think that the Eagles overall are probably the better team, but the Bengals I would much rather see win. They're also supposed to be in the all-white. I think that uniforms, in the grand scheme of things, they don't matter. They only matter, really, to me. They doesn't really matter in the sense of the predictions. But I want the Bengals to win. I'm picking with my heart, not my brain, for this matchup. I'm going with Cincinnati. Next, New Orleans Saints at Los Angeles Chargers. Can we please get Justin Herbert some help? I would like to see Cooper. If Cooper Kupp got traded, I think Cooper Kupp should get traded to the Chargers if he gets traded anywhere. He doesn't have to get traded, but if he does, trade for the Chargers. I don't think he would have to even move house or anything because the Chargers and the Rams share a freaking stadium. Get Justin Herbert some help because he kind of has the Chargers and mainly him have gotten lost in the shuffle, and they're just kind of, I'm not going to say in no man's land, but just stagnant, if that makes any sense. The thing is, as well, the Saints just need help everywhere because injuries are piling up everywhere there, so that's why I'm picking the Chargers to win this matchup. Next, the Buffalo Bills at the Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to go with Buffalo winning, but I definitely think that Seattle will make this a tough matchup. Seattle's been a tough team to face all year and have been in heavily contested games, so I think this will be another one of those and should be exciting to watch. Next, This should be a fun game, but could immediately get that thrown out the window depending on injury-wise. The Chicago Bears at the Washington Commanders. Obviously, the two top rookies, Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels. I almost said Dyson Daniels, which is an NBA news. But Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels, two of the top rookies in this class. I'm picking with my heart and not my brain again, because I do think the Bears have the better chance of winning. I don't know if I would really say if they're the better team or not. I don't know. That'd be a great debate to have, but obviously we'll learn who that is on Sunday. But like I said, I'm picking with my heart, not my brain, and going with Washington. Especially if Daniels is out there, I'd feel a lot better with this. Carolina Panthers at Denver Broncos. Broncos, your defense is good. Your offense is very boring and not trustworthy. I'm going to still pick you because you're going against the Panthers. That Thursday night football game was not exciting to watch from that standpoint. The Kansas City Chiefs at the Las Vegas Raiders. The Chiefs with DeAndre Hopkins. I want to give myself a pat on the back because I don't sleep a lot. That's a random thing to admit, but this came into play at 5:30 in the morning on Wednesday morning when I saw a meme saying, hey, it was a picture of DeAndre Hopkins. It was like, hey, can you get me to the Chiefs? And I was like, I guess everybody's been hearing about that. I do think that is a nice fit and everything. And then I looked 30 minutes later, and the trade, to be fair, the trade had been rumored and starting to go through at that point, but it didn't take a lot of time for it to click. And then I realized, oh, that's why that meme was happening and whatnot. Oh, he's getting traded there. Oh, well, I'm giving myself the pat on the back. I immediately ran to the fantasy app because I knew that DeAndre Hopkins was on the waiver wire, and I picked him up, which does help because Michael Evans is on my fantasy team. So we'll see how this all plays through. I would be shocked if it doesn't work out in some sense. And I don't like seeing the Chiefs being undefeated, but this would just be a very bad. I'm picking them to win. I'd be shocked if they didn't win. Granted, the Raiders, I will remember that Christmas Day matchup. It was good on the Raiders for that Christmas Day matchup. Granted, a lot has changed since then, and a lot is not the same. If the Raiders won this, though, I'd be happy for them. Let's put it that way, because they've had a rough season thus far. Now, we have two matchups that I'm not very fond of. The first one, the Sunday night football game, I am very glad that NXT Halloween Havoc will be going on at that time. I know football season, you're trying to watch as much football as you can. This is a matchup I'm actively trying to avoid. The Dallas Cowboys at the San Francisco 49ers. If there's ever a matchup where I don't care who wins or they both could lose, this is one of those few matchups. The 49ers are the main team where we're talking about injuries. They got a bunch of freaking injuries. But they always find a way to dominate against the Cowboys. This might be the rare instance that does not happen. I'm going to pick the Cowboys to win. And if they don't, I would say hell would break loose, but it kind of has already done that with every Cowboys loss this season, and it's happened a bunch of times already. As now we get to the Monday night football game, and again, it's another case that I'm glad that the Grizzlies will be playing Monday night, and I can have my attention towards that. Who do we play Monday? I know we play the Rockets Friday. We play the Magic Saturday. I think that we play the Bulls Monday, but I'm not 100%. Hey, Siri. Who do the Memphis Grizzlies play on Monday?
The Grizzlies battle the Bulls on Monday at 7 p.m.
I don't know if y'all heard that, but she said Chicago Bulls, so I was right there. Granted, I'm trying to stall. Giants at Steelers. I'm going with the Steelers to win. So that's our last of our Week 8 NFL predictions. I already started leaning into the NBA talk. Let's go all the way and lean in and continue it. Now, it's weird because we've only had 2 days worth of action. I did not watch every single game. I don't think anybody has. If somebody says that they have, they're probably lying to you, especially at the filming of this time. I did catch a bunch of the highlights. I watched the primetime matchups. are the main matchups and my Grizzlies play. And then, like I said, I watched a bunch of highlights, so I've accumulated some notes. I will say I was contemplating waiting and doing this video on Saturday, but I was like, I'm ready to talk about it now. Now, I'll also say, talking about these primetime matchups, very much a wet fart. I know that's not the best way to describe it, but it's like Game 1, Celtics, Knicks, you're expecting a dominant, or not a dominant, a back-and-forth scrappy battle, and you got a dominant battle from the defending champions, where it's like, oh, here we go again. We don't really want to see it. We think / thought that the Knicks would be able to hang into the game, and they just weren't. Obviously, the two headlines were the Celtics draining a crap ton of threes, and what the hell with Mikal. I will say, I am a Mikal Bridges fan, so I'm not going to harp on it too much, and I do think it would get better before it gets worse. It's just this is the first bit of action we're seeing. It's a first impression, and first impressions stick with you for a while. So it's also weird because obviously the trade for Cat happened less than a month ago, and so you're still trying to accumulate that and just changing things a bit too much. But it's also the Celtics did the same thing last season where they traded for Porzingis early and then traded for Drew Holiday a month before the season. Where, again, it's a very similar thing here. It will mesh at some point. If not, that's when you start needing to worry. Obviously not now. It's literally the first games. What is worrisome, and it's something that I hate that I predicted, and I think a lot of people predicted, about the 76ers. My main issue / reason I don't believe or not high on the Sixers is just Paul George and the Sixers are just too similar. You don't need the similarness because with Paul George, it's either an injury cost him the playoffs or a season, or crappy play cost him the playoffs and the season. The 76ers the same thing. It's mainly Joel gets hurt at some point and then it leans into the playoffs and screws everything up. Now, we're not even nowhere near the playoffs. We're literally at the start of the season, and both guys are out, and they're already battling an uphill battle, putting all the pressure on Tyrese Maxey, who, is supposed to be the third guy. Now he's the first guy. So I do think Maxey will win games for them. I hope that Joel comes back. I'm still concerned because when I was watching the playoffs, it was, I'm not going to say unwatchable, but it was hard to watch for him. And guess what? I'm not the one freaking walking out there and running up and down the court with the damn injury. He is. So they're already kind of in that worrisome boat, which was very predictable. Now, speaking of other East teams, Orlando Magic, Cleveland Cavaliers, Indiana Pacers, impressive victories. I think the Magic the most because they got better. They added KCP, and they held a defensive team, an offensive... how do I put this talking about the Miami Heat? The Miami Heat was able to hang with them defensively, and the Magic blew them out of the water, and it kind of is making the Jimmy Butler situation in Miami, it kind of highlighted it, I'm kind of getting vibes of Jimmy in Minnesota that last bit where it kind of leaned over into gameplay of the team. We just haven't had the public outbreak or questioning the team. I think slowly but surely that could potentially happen. I hope. Do I hope it happens? No. Do I want to see Jimmy on another team? Yes. Do I want to see Miami do something different? Yeah. And obviously, good on Orlando because they, again, it's first impressions. They highlighted that, and they are a fun team to watch with Paulo dominating. That being said, though, talk about award predictions. I had Cole Anthony as a candidate for my Sixth Man of the Year. Didn't hit a shot, so not a good start there. Cavaliers dominated the Raptors. Indiana and Detroit. Good on Detroit for at least competing and being close in the game compared to last year where they were losing, but I feel that Detroit was close in a lot of games last year, so good on them. Los Angeles Clippers, Phoenix Suns. We've already kind of talked about the Kawhi situation. Again, this is very similar with Philly, where Kawhi is out. Don't know when or if he's coming back. We don't like talking about that. But it's just like the other thing is with James Harden is that when the going gets tough, as of recent, he don't want to be there and he wants a different situation. Now, it hasn't gotten tough yet. It's slowly but surely getting there. I would give credit to him and to this Clippers team. It felt very reminiscent of James Harden and more so the Rockets pre-Chris Paul. Zubac, Capella, Norman Powell, Eric Gordon, Terrence Mann. You can pick or choose who. Terrence Mann, I don't really want to compare him to Pat Bev. It's kind of like a combination of Pat Bev and Lou Will, maybe. That might be a little bit too much. But it's just like a very fun and fluid offense that Harden was dominating, even with then and now, which was good to see a bit of old James Harden. Now, we don't want to see new James Harden where he gives up and all that crap. So it's a good first game for the Clippers, even though it's a loss, in the new stadium / dome / arena. I'm going to call it a dome. It was a fun watch. Granted, it was national TV. Once you're getting into these like nitty-gritty games where you're also not competing against 2 to 3 all-stars against the Suns, I don't know if it will be as fun. With Phoenix, very similar to last year where they're very into games in the fourth quarter and I can't say almost screwed up, but it was going very back and forth and they were able to come out on top with this one. Golden State Warriors. I gave them a lot of credit and was like very high on the Buddy Hield signing because the Warriors are a historic three-point shooting team and Buddy Hield's a historic three-point shooter and a lot of people didn't really like it. I don't know if it's a combination of his defense or what they saw last from Buddy Hield in the playoffs wasn't the greatest, but I was kind of always high on the signing and it worked out for them well in game 1. Charlotte Hornets. Kind of in the same boat as the Pistons. Like, impressive and good to see them back on track, but I got to give them an extra bit of credit because they won their game after being down a bunch and without Brandon Miller. So, seeing Brandon Miller and LaMelo play together should be a fun watch, and the little bit of it that we got to see in the first game was cool. Atlanta Hawks and Brooklyn Nets. It's a weird matchup. I like the Nets. I like a lot of players on the Nets. It bothers me a little bit when they say, oh, the Nets are going to suck. Because like I was looking at their lineup and looking at players on their team. I'm like, this should be a decent team. And then I watched the highlights. Ben Simmons started over Nick Claxton, who they gave a massive extension to. And the only notable things that Claxton did this game was get freaking ejected, which when I looked at the box score initially, I'm like, oh, he must have got ejected. And then he did. He did. But he was also coming off the bench, which I don't know if there's an injury there or not. And again, especially when you're talking about Ben Simmons starting over him, that's where you kind of question it and whatnot. But it's good on Atlanta, especially Onyeka Okongwu and with Trae Young, I guess I should say, that when I look at their team-wise, obviously they have the best player between these two teams, but Atlanta played as a team. So good on them there. And I spent a lot of time like observing this matchup. I think mainly because I wanted to see. I feel that this is going to be like what we see from the Nets all season. Even if trades happen, even if moves happen and players are gone, I feel this is what we're going to see from the Nets all year. With Atlanta, I don't know. It went good this first going. Potentially could change. I'm trying to think because looking at the wall of hats, I feel that I've almost talked about every team or matchup besides the Pelicans and Bulls, which was a hard observation. What the Bulls is very much what I said about Atlanta, with kind of the same. I just feel that this Bulls team is going to be the same all year. I'm not very high on the 3-guard lineup of White, Giddey, and Levine. Levine at least looked like his old self. Giddey, gotta get going. IMO. Vucevic, I don't think we'll ever see Orlando Vucevic again. I don't think really anybody but me was probably expected to see Orlando Vucevic again. And the Pelicans are an extremely team to observe because DeJounte Murray, I believe, got injured. Zion I almost said went missing. That's probably not the best way to put it, but did not play in this first game. So whatever lineup, matchup that we're going to see with who the hell there was going to be their center, at least this first game, went out the window because they started Daniel Tice. So they got things to figure out there, which they're consistently having to do that. Now, looking back at the wall with hats. Thursday night will be fun because the matchups are Spurs Mavericks, which Klay Thompson's debut with the Mavericks. Chris Paul with the Spurs. We'll be interested to see how he changes them. Thunder and Nuggets, two of the top teams in the West. The last two number one seeds in the Western Conference. The Kings and the Wolves are playing, so it's interesting to see if the Wolves bounce back from the first game where they were trying to mesh well with one another, and it was just kind of that Anthony Edwards show, and it didn't lead to them winning. The Kings, I'm excited to see how that all goes. Mainly just offensively, things will do good. I very much imagine that. Defensively, that's where you need to look at things. Looking back at the wall of hats, I know that the Wizards play the Celtics. Probably don't even need to comment on that. Pacers, I commented on. Nets, I commented on. Cavs, briefly did. And that only leaves one team. Memphis Grizzlies, 12 is back. It was great watching the Grizzlies. Great watching them compete. I hated, because I could actually fully observe this game because I watched the whole game. I hated that last quarter. Way too many freaking foul calls. It took too long, They need to do something about that. Also, they changed. Kept talking because it happened in this game and it happened in the Clippers-Suns game, very close to the end, where the coaches challenge, if a foul call happens and they didn't call it during the coaches challenge, they could go back and change it. So why would I potentially risk challenging something and then it come back to extra biting me in the ass? I did not really like that. So obviously, it didn't really matter this first game, but we got 81 more to go, so it will at some point. So, great first bit of action. I was saying that it was not the best start because it's Sixers-Bucks immediately got thrown out the window with Paul George and Embiid gone. Suns-Clippers was kind of the same thing with Kawhi not being there, but at least that ended up being a fun matchup. Celtics-Knicks, you didn't even have to watch after halftime. It was definitely funny watching the Celtics try to break the three-point record in the fourth and not make it a shot. That is what it is. Lakers-Timberwolves was a fun watch. It was great to see the LeBron and Bronny moment, and hopefully we don't have to dwell on this and constantly keep bringing it up. It happened. If it happens again, good, but it doesn't need to be. It's very much. I'm trying to think of a wrestling. It's very much in TV shows or in wrestling, because obviously I'm a wrestling guy, where something gets over once and then the fans want to see it over and over again. This doesn't have to be something that we see over and over again. It's a once in a lifetime moment that can happen multiple times. Let's put it that way. So it was definitely a nice moment. Anthony Davis was also dominant in this Lakers matchup, and it's weird with the Lakers because I just kind of thought this was going to be the same team as last year, but the only real change they made was coaching-wise, and we'll see if the coaching changes matters at the end. So, got a lot off my chest talking about the NBA. My nose has consistently been running throughout this video, so that's why I've been kind of doing this every once in a while. So I'm going to go try and fix that. Like I said, check out my ROH review tomorrow. Check out my NBA award predictions. Check out WCW My GM when it is uploaded. I also hope that you're okay. You stay safe. You enjoy your weekend. You enjoy watching basketball if you're going to do that. If not, enjoy whatever the hell you're doing. I don't know. I'm not going to judge. Just do what you want to do. Just do that. Hopefully one of those things that you do is leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one because I'm out for now. Can I end it at the 30-minute mark? Hopefully.